about nursing in a while, and it's probably because it has changed very much. Not nursing in general, but travel nursing. And a lot of you all have messaged me about this, so I decided to just address it here on videos. How has travel nursing changed since COVID-19 became a pandemic? Well, let's get started. So it is extremely different. The last assignment that I had, I was in San Francisco, California. So I'm thinking, everything is going great. I extended once and I actually loved it there, and I decided like, okay, this might be somewhere where you want to stay, like not forever, but for a few years, because it was absolutely amazing. But I knew that I wanted to travel more and see more of the world before I decide, okay, this is the place that I'm going to settle down. So before I leave my assignment, I shared it with another nurse, and I was like, I just want to see the world a little bit, because the manager was super nice and told me that I could stay, but I was just dead set on it. Anyways, the nurse tells me, you want to find somewhere and stay. Either find somewhere immediately or sign up to stay here. If you want to take a break and go home for a while, do that, but you need to get somewhere and stay. And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, the market is totally changing. And so I'm thinking, okay, this woman, like, how does she have this foresight? How does she have this knowledge? So I just completely just went with my gut. I went home to see my family, quarantined for a while, and then like saw my niece and all that. So yeah, I just really missed my family. I hadn't seen them in months, and I was across the country. Now, fast forward to me applying for jobs. So I start applying, and I, submit for just a few jobs like I normally do, because it doesn't take much for me to get a call back. Like, I've built my resume traveling now, so it's like, okay, it's not really that hard. Y'all, I applied for so many jobs. I cannot tell you how many jobs. It had to have been over 20. I was just applying, submitting, even until the point to where my recruiter is like, hey, you submitted to the max amount of jobs right now open that we can actually submit you to. And I'm like, what? Because like every day that I was talking to her, she was telling me, okay, this position closed, or, this position's on hold. It was crazy. So I started getting like really frustrated, because I wanted to take a month off, and I had in my mind, like I do this all the time. Oh, I'm going to take a month off and then I'll start working again. And it's always been super easy. Here's what's different right now. Most hospitals hired crisis teams for COVID-19. So they offered these huge contracts for people to come in for like 6 to 8 weeks at most, when they suspected that they were going to have the spike or the peak in their curve. So they offer these huge contracts, and then, in my case, at my hospital, the crisis team started it, and we never really got a spike. It was very slow. We had stopped all elective surgeries. So, most of the time my unit was pretty empty. It got to the point to where they were canceling shifts back to back, which was fine by me, because my agency is great, and the contract that I signed actually covered it. So I was getting paid to stay at home anyways. But there was just not a need for as many nurses as there had been. And then if you think about it, people aren't going to the ED, because on the news they're telling them, don't go to the ED unless it's life and death, because you can expose yourself. So people weren't going to the emergency department. So emergency room nurses, no jobs. And then because they had stopped elective surgeries, OR nurses, no jobs. I'm in like a really big nursing group online, just so I can like keep track of the market and see like how people like certain hospitals and things like that. And I looked in the group, and there were ER nurses like in there, like, okay, I just took a med surg job just because I had to. And I was like, what? And so I'm seeing this, and then I'm about to start applying for jobs, and I'm like, wow, like the market has completely changed. Another way that it has changed was I would tell my recruiter, okay, I want to work in this or that state. I would pretty much give her like 3 different states that I wanted to work in, or like major cities, whatever. And it would always work out for me. And she would send me a list of jobs available in that state. I would narrow it down to the cities, and then I would look up the hospitals, and I would say, okay, this is where I want to work. This is where I want to submit to. They have a good backing or good reviews online. All of that went out the window. If you've watched my previous videos, I talk about how picky I've been and how I want them to have Epic, and I want to work in neuro ICU only. Like, it got to a point where I was like, look, submit me anywhere. I will work any ICU job. Like, it's just ridiculous. But yeah, so the list that she was sending me, or that the company was composing for me, was so short. Like, I kid you not, guys. Like, for certain states it would be like 2 job openings. So I was like, look, just send me the nationwide list at this point. Even the nationwide list was like incredibly short. So at that point I was like, I'm gonna have to like split up with my roomie, because typically we look and we try to find jobs together, and it just wasn't possible. Especially for her specialty, there were even less jobs available for her. So I was like, look, girl, I'm gonna catch you next time around. I want to encourage anybody, if you are looking, like, keep on looking, submit with different agencies, like make sure you're talking to different recruiters, because the times right now are a little different. When there's more job availability, you can be more picky, you can stick to your favorite agency, you can stick to your favorite recruiter, whatever. But right now it's just like, if you need a job, you need a job. So yeah, it's completely different. And then another thing that was so different for me was, like, I was moving states after I had been home. I actually stayed home for a month and a half, even though I wanted to stay home for a month, but whatever. I'm thankful that I got this job, and I ended up coming back to a place that I have already been. So that was a little less nerve-wracking, but it was so different coming here, because I was like, how did they handle the COVID pandemic? Did they lock everything down in time? Is it going to be crazy there? Is there going to be a surplus of COVID patients? Like, you just don't know what to expect these days. Thankfully I knew people that were here, but I know for you all that may be the case where you're just wondering, like, okay, because I'm actually working in Virginia, but I'm living in DC, and I know that Virginia was one of the last places to close, one of the last places to open, and so I just expected to walk into a poop show. I don't like to curse, but definitely a poop show. So I was like, oh God, they're gonna just be running over with COVID patients, because they did not take it seriously fast enough. So yeah, I would definitely like look up articles or look up news coverage of like the place to where you're going. Not to say that you shouldn't go, though. You should definitely go. After you worked with one COVID patient, you've worked with them all. So it's like, you know what, you can handle it at this point. If you're gonna have a bunch of COVID patients, you're gonna have them. If you need the job, just go. Like, it literally got to that point for me. So I was like, I don't even care. I'm going. I had COVID patients in San Francisco. I'll have more of them in Virginia. I don't care. And actually, it's been a nice surprise. Like, it hasn't been that what I expected. Another thing I was worried about is, like, so crossing state lines, is that different? Which there's actually like not people out like checking your temperature at the state line, like you can't drive through here or something like that. But I would look up like travel regulations and things like that. One thing that's really big and that was different for me moving here was I just wanted to be super careful about everything. After seeing all of the news coverage, I'm like, I'm taking this so seriously. And just seeing people firsthand that were really sick, I'm like, the whole term scamdemic, I'm over it. Like, no, I've seen people firsthand that were really sick. Didn't see a lot of them, but for sure saw them. So I just wanted to take my health very seriously. So just making sure that the place that I was coming was super duper clean, looking at ratings, because typically I book on Airbnb, but like looking at ratings, like what has the cleanliness been like in the past. In the place that I actually found, they actually have someone come in and clean once a week too. So like, that's super awesome. I was like, oh, you're really, really clean. So I like that. Being in close proximity to the hospital, just so I don't have to travel too much. And oh, and definitely, I forgot to mention this, but it's probably because I didn't interview or have orientation, because I already worked at this job. But you likely will, that's a typical thing. You will have an over the phone interview. Make sure you ask questions, because it's not just important that where you're living is clean, but that you feel protected at work too. Is there PPE available? Are we allowed to wear masks on the unit? I have a friend right now who is working in like a smaller town in California, and they're not allowed to wear masks outside of the patient's rooms, which is so weird to me, because I'm like, if we have to wear masks in society to even go into the grocery store, why would I not wear a mask into a facility that I know people with COVID are being housed? Like, it's super weird. So I would definitely ask about that. Do you have masks available? Am I allowed to bring my own mask? I know some people like, their personal, like those huge masks or whatever. They like to wear their personal mask. But just make sure that you're asking all of those things. What are the ratios like? Because I actually got I submitted for a job where the ratios were like completely different because it was a COVID ICU. So definitely ask those things. Definitely ask those things. And then if you do sign up for crisis pay, I've seen a lot of people saying that they have gotten to a place and been in orientation and then their pay is actually decreased. And they give them the option to either stay and finish out their contract at the lower pay or up and go without, you know, any penalties for breaking their contract. So, you know, those are just things to think about and things to ask on top of what you would normally ask whenever you were interviewing for a job. Yep, I hope I answered all of your all's nursing questions. If you all are like out there just searching for a job and waiting for something to happen, just keep submitting, try with different agencies, like keep hope alive. Hopefully, you know, things return back to normal and we get our jobs back again and we get our pickings back again and we can be, you know, as picky and detail oriented as we want to be. So stay with it, guys. Keep hope alive. Thank you all for watching. As always, you can follow me at all the links below. Thanks.